So we are going to start our today's lecture. In the last session, we have seen that classification of digital data, right? So data can be classified into three types of data, that is structured data, and semi-structured data, and unstructured data. Okay, so basically this digital data is categorized into three types. Okay, so out of which already in the last lecture we have seen that unstructured data. Okay, so what is meant by unstructured data? So this data which does not conform to a data model. Okay, means they're having no any proper schema is there, predefined schema is there, and in the form of which we can use easily by a computer program. Okay, so we are going to easily extract the data by using computer program. So basically nowadays 80 to 90% of data of an organization. So which type of data is called as unstructured data? Because suppose you can consider the example of organization. So they are having lot of information is there, lot of data is there. Okay, so for example, PowerPoint documents are there, PDF documents are there, images are, videos are there, some of the research papers are there, then email documents are there. Okay, so every document having a different structure, right? So how you can store that different structured document in database? Okay, so all these data is called as a unstructured data, means they're having no any proper format. Okay, so you can consider the example of your relational database. So in that we are going to store that data into the what? Tabular format, in form of rows and columns, right? But in case of unstructured data, so they're having no any predefined model. Okay, so basically in that unstructured data consists of different types of data. Some of the data are the means PowerPoint documents, some of the data are the images, videos are there, text are there, letters are there. Okay, so you can consider the example of your Facebook. Okay, so in the Facebook daily millions of videos and millions of images and texts are uploaded on that website, right? So but the all these data are in a different format, so how it can be stored, right? So that's why the new concept is introduced, that is big data. Okay, so basically the digital data is categorized into three types of data. Okay, which are structured data, unstructured data, and the semi-structured data. Unstructured data means they're having no any predefined model. Okay, so it consists of every types of data. Okay, so then moving to the next type of data, that is semi-structured data. So it is a combination of both structured data and unstructured data. Means some of the data is structural format. For example, you can consider the example of your HTML document. Okay, so they're having some one of a structure is there. Okay, so in that we are going to put the data in the tags in between the tags, right? So first they're having HTML main tag is there, then head tag is there, then body. In that body, whatever the elements we are going to display on your web page, right? So you can write the means radio button, text box, then they're having different types of web elements, images and all that thing. So whatever you are going to display on that web page, so all that things you can write into that body part. Okay, then you can complete that body, and then you are going to complete that HTML. Means they're having some structure. Okay, but some of the data is in a structural format, some of the data is in unstructured format. Okay, so such type of data is called as a semi-structured data. Okay, so this data which does not conform to a data model. Okay, so but has some structure. Okay, some of the data is a structural format and some of the data is in unstructured format. Okay, so such types of data are called as a semi-structured data. For example, XML file, okay, extended markup language file, then HTML, hypertext markup language, then JSON. Nowadays we are going to use the JSON format type of the data. Okay, so all these such types of data are categorized under semi-structured data. Okay, now moving to the third type of that data, that is structure. You all are familiar with that, right? So in your database management system and your modern database management system also, we are going to see that structured data. Okay, so what is meant by structured data? Structured data means they're having a predefined data model. Okay, so by using DDL language, right, DDL commands, so we are going to first prepare the structure of that means where you are going to store that data. So first you can create a structure, right, by using create command, right? And after the creating a structure, then you are going to insert, update, delete, and all that things. We are going to perform that data manipulation operations on that data. So basically in the structure data, they're having a proper structure. Okay, so what is that structure? It consists of rows and columns, and in that we are going to store that data. And we are, how we can deal with that data? By using different different data manipulation commands. Okay, data manipulation queries. We are going to fire on that structured data for retrieving and modifying that data. Okay, so this is nothing but what? Structured data. Your regular RDBMS is an example of your structured data. Okay, so approximate percentage and distribution of digital data. Okay, so whatever the data is available in a digital form, so out of that 80% is a structured data, 10% is a semi-structured data, and again 10% is a what? Unstructured data. Okay, so basically this is a distribution of the digital data. Now we are going to moving to the one by one. What is meant by the structured data? Okay, how we can deal with that structured data, which are the sources of that structured data. Okay, so that things we are going to see one by one. The first, you all are familiar with that, that is structured data. So already I am talking about that. So they're having a predefined structure. Okay, so all that data can be stored in the form of rows and columns. So one of the best example is your RDBMS. Okay, and whatever the data we are going to store into that table, so they're having some relation between that entities. Okay, so if they're having ORDBMS, object oriented relational database model. Okay, so they're having the classes and that object. Okay, so data stored in the database is an example of your structured data. So what are the sources? Okay, where we are going to collect that structured data, or what are the sources of that structured data? So you know that they're having the different types of database management softwares are there, right? So that softwares are deal with managing, retrieving, modifying the data into the relational database, right? Okay, so which are the database management system softwares? So Oracle Corporation having Oracle software is there. Okay, IBM can be introduced DB2, Microsoft having SQL Server, right? EMC having the Greenplug, and Teradata having again the name of that software is also Teradata. MySQL, you are all familiar with that MySQL and the SQL Server and Oracle. Okay, then PostgreSQL. So this is again also advanced open source database. So these are the some of the sources of structured data, and these are the softwares where we are going to store that structured data. Okay, so these are the some of the sources. Okay, so these databases are typically used to hold the transaction or operations data generated and collected by the day-to-day business activity. So basically these RDBMS softwares are used for performing OLTP transaction. Okay, so what is meant by OLTP? Online transaction processing, means those activities are performed day-to-day activity. Okay, so such types of transactions are called as a online transaction processing. Okay, so you can consider the example of organization. Okay, suppose new employees is joined at there, so you can keep the record of that new employee in your existing employee table. Okay, so if they're having some salary increment is there, so you can update their record, right? If some of the person can be relieve their job, okay, you can delete that record. Okay, means whatever the day-to-day activities are performed in an organization, so such types of activity transactions are called as a online transaction processing what systems. Okay, so these are managed by using these softwares. Okay, Oracle, DB2, SQL Server, MySQL Server. Okay, so these are the sources of structured data. Okay, which are the sources? These DBMS softwares. Okay, again the second source is spreadsheet. Okay, so spreadsheet means what? So your Excel document, right? So in that Excel document, again having the rows and columns, right? So you can keep the record into that tabular format. This is also one of the structured data. Then OLTP system. So whatever the day-to-day transactions we are going to perform in your organization, so these are deals with your what databases. Okay, so these are the sources. So in your examination asking the question regarding for that, what is structured data and what are the different sources of what structured data. So these are the sources of structured data, okay, which are different databases, spreadsheet and OLTP system. Okay, now moving to the next part, how you can work with that structured data or how you deal with that structured data. Okay, how you can interact with that structured data. So basically, you know that they're having DDL and DML commands are there, right? Data manipulation language. So by using that, we are going to deal with the, or you can means deal with the data manipulation functions, right? So basically, they're having insert, update, delete functions are there. So you can write a query and fire that query. And by using that, we are going to what? Manipulate the data. Okay. Now, next one of the most important things. So how you can provide the security for that data. Okay. So basically they're having authentication is very important. So those person who are access and retrieve the data from that database, right? So they're having some encryption or we are going to provide some authorization. Okay, so those who are the authorized persons so that they can encrypt that data, and by using that they are going to retrieve the sensitive information of that organization. Okay, so by using that we are going to provide the security for that data. Okay, then next one of the most important thing that so when you performing the transaction, okay, so the RDBMS, you know that RDBMS has to be support one of the most important properties, that is there have acid property, right? So you know that what is meant by atomicity, consistency, isolation and durability. Okay, so atomicity means what? Okay, so execute all or nothing, right? So this is a main tagline of that atomicity. Okay, so all the transactions are executed successfully or executed successfully commit, then it can be committed. If any one of the transaction is aborted, so all transactions are aborted. Okay, got it? So that is nothing but what? Atomicity. Atomicity means what? A transaction is atomic means either it happened in the entry or none of at all. म्हणजे all transactions are executed successfully, then it is successfully committed. If any one of the transaction is failed, all transactions are aborted. Okay, so that is nothing but what? Atomicity. Then moving to the next property, that is consistency. Okay, so what is meant by consistency? The database moves from one consistent state to another consistent state. Okay, for example, if you have to make some modification, suppose I want to withdraw a money, right? And my balance is 10,000 and I am withdrawing a money 2,000. Okay, so how much is my balance? So that is 8,000. So these 8,000 is updated. Okay, 8,000 balance is updated. Okay, if it is having the distributed database are there, so all the sites that transaction has to be successfully committed and the updation can be made in the database. Okay, so that is nothing but the consistency. Okay, so why this is important? Other if the data is not consistent, so it can be generate the wrong result. So that's why consistency is very important. Then moving to the next, isolation. Okay, so what is meant by isolation? So every transaction can be happen in isolated or independently, right? Means you know that you are going to perform some locking system, right? So because means no other transaction can be interfere with the executing of the another transaction. So that's why we are going to apply some locks on that. So they're having two-phase commit protocol, three-phase commit protocols are there, because these are used in the distributed database. But in the normal DBMS, we are going to means apply some locks on that data. Okay, shared lock and exclusive lock. So if you want to only read something, okay, if you want to read something, फक्त तुम्हाला data read करायचा आहे, okay, then that time we are going to apply some shared lock. Okay, but if you are to read and write the data, so at that time we are going to perform exclusive lock on that data. So no other transaction can be interfere. So that transaction can be executed independently, or that transaction is executed in isolation. So that is nothing but the isolation property of RDBMS. Okay, then the fourth property is durability. Okay, so all the changes are made to the database during a transaction are permanent. Okay, once I can withdraw a 2000 money, okay, from my account. So after successful commit, okay, after successful commit, so all the changes made to the database, so these are permanent even if system is failure. Okay, got it? जरी एकदा transaction successfully commit झालं की the updations are permanent in that database. Okay, if and only if the transaction is failed. Okay, so these are the some of the properties of RDBMS. So you all are aware about that. So most of the time these questions will be asked in the examination. What are the asset properties of DBMS? So you all has to be aware about that. Okay, then okay, so how you can deal with the structured data? By applying DML commands, right? Input, update, delete. Then we are going to provide the security for that data. The next another thing is that search indexing. Okay, so what is meant by indexing? So if they're having the huge amount of data and we are going to we can retrieve some specific thing. So that time indexing is very important. By using indexing, you can easily retrieve that specified data. Then scalability. Okay, so you can easily scalable the structure, right? So you can easily add the more records on that existing data. Then transaction processing, right? So we are going to perform that transaction. If the transaction is successfully commit, all the changes can be made in the database are permanent. If any one of the transaction is failed, right? So all the transactions are aborted, right? So these are the DCL commands, you know, that commit and abort. So by using that, we can deal with the structured data. So you all aware about that, how to deal with the structured data. Okay, now moving to the next type of the data, that is what? Semi-structured data. So what I am saying in that, so semi-structured data is a combination of structured data and unstructured data, right? So this is the data which does not conform to a data model but has some structure. Confirm तुम्ही सांगू शकत नाही की एक प्रॉपर असं स्ट्रक्चर असतं, पण त्यामध्ये काही पार्ट हा स्ट्रक्चरल असतो. ओके, so this is a data which does not conform to a data model, okay, but has some structure. Okay, means it is a combination of structured or unstructured data. Okay, or it can be false in both structured and say unstructured data. So however, it is not in the form which can be used easily by a computer program. Okay, so such types of data can be retrieved by using computer programs. So you can write a computer program. So by using that, we are going to retrieve the semi-structured data. Okay, so which types of data are called as a semi-structured data? For example, email. Email again having some structure. First, you can write a to, then they're having in between CC, then BCC are there. Then they're having a another thing is that from and then to. Okay, then you can write a subject and in that body you can write the email message, right? Again in the XML, whatever the different markups language are there, HTML, So again, they're having some structure is there, and in that structural format, you can write a what syntax and semantics. Okay, so but basically such types of data are categorized under which type? Semi-structured data. Okay, so what are the main features in the semi-structured data? So see at here, it does not conform to a data model. Okay, you can't say that this is a proper data because structured data having a predefined data model. But in that semi-structure, it does not confirm a data model, but it has some what structure is there. Okay, it uses a tags to segregate semantic elements. Okay, see, in case of HTML, they're having a tags, right? And by using that tags, they're having syntax and semantics for creating that elements, right? Web elements. Then tags are also used to enforce the hierarchy of the record. Okay, and the fields within that data. Okay, so whatever the fields in that, for example, you can consider the example of your web page, and in that web page, suppose they're having you can sign up the Google Gmail form. Okay, so basically they're having first name, last name, then your email ID, your password. Again, you can retype your password, right? Your date of birth, right? So these are the some of the fields are there. So these can be created by using that tag. So they're having no separation between data and schema. In case of semi-structure, they're having no different separation between data and schema. But in case of structured data, first you can create a schema, right? Means by using create table name, then in bracket, you can write what are the columns are there, then there are data types. Okay, so first you can create a schema, and then you can, and after the creating a schema, then you can insert the data into that table. But in case of semi-structure, see, but in case of semi-structure, there is no separation between data and schema. Here I am going to one example. See, this is a HTML. You all are familiar with that. See, here is a schema. Body is one of the schema, but in that you can write a data also. Suppose this is a H1 header tag is there, right? Head tag. So that header tag, so you can write a data. Means they're having no separate schema and no separate data. In a semi-structure, what? They're having no separation of between data and schema. The amount of structure is used to dedicated by the purpose at hand. Okay, so basically it is a combination of both, means data and the schema. Here some of the part is a structure and some of the part is unstructured. Okay, so semi-structured data entities belong to same class and also grouped together need not necessarily have the same set of attributes. Okay, if they're having a same data is there, but they're having a different structure. For example, same data you can write in the XML format, same data you can write in the JSON format, same data you can write in the HTML format. Okay, so and if at all they have the same set of the attribute, the order of attribute may not be similar, and all practical purpose it is not important as well. Okay, so we are going to see that how we can write the data in the HTML format and how you can write the data in the JSON format. So syntactically we will see in the next word. Okay, so the next part is as like a structured data. Which are the sources? Your DBMS, your spreadsheet, and your OLTP. So these are the sources of structured data. But in case of unstructured data, what are the sources? So sources are XML and the JSON, HTML files. These are the sources of semi-structured data. Okay. In case of structured data, what are the sources? What are the sources? Different databases, spreadsheet, and your OLTP transactions. So these are the sources of your structured data. But what are the sources of semi-structured data? Your XML, JSON, HTML, then text. So all these are the such types of data files are called as a semi-structured data. Okay, so you know that XML is extensible markup language, is hugely popular by the web service development, and they are going to utilize a simple object access protocol principle. Means web services. Okay, you know that what is meant by web services. So for that web services, or you can create that web page, right? So at that time we are going to use that such types of markup language, XML, HTML, JSON. Okay, and for that they are going to use which type of protocol? SOAP protocol, simple object access protocol. Okay, but nowadays we are going to use a JSON. So that time REST API is used, REST protocol. So that is a representational state transfer protocol is there. Okay, so source of the semi-structure, XML, other markup language, and the JSON. JSON means JavaScript object notation. Okay, so such types of language data are called as a semi-structured data, or these are the sources of semi-structured data. Okay, now moving to the characteristics of the semi-structured data, it is inconsistent structured. See, structured data is in a consistent format, right? So why the consistency is very important? So after performing a transaction, right, you can having the consistent data, otherwise you can get a wrong result, right? But in case of semi-structure, all the data is in a inconsistent form, self-describing. Okay, label, value pairs, to pair, tag pair. So in that we can write that data. Often schema information is blended with the data value. Okay, schema value, already I am saying that they're having no separation between data and schema. Data and schema बरोबरच असतो. Body tag है, body is a schema, and in that body you can write that data, right? But schema and body is blended with each other, right? So these are the characteristics of semi-structured data. Then data object may have different attribute not known beforehand. So every time it can be behave in different. So that's why data object may have the different attributes and not known before the hand. Okay, so these are the some of the characteristics of the semi-structured data. Which are the characteristics of that semi-structured data? So semi-structured data is in a inconsistent form. It is a self-describing, right? And they're having no separation between data and schema. So data and schema blend with each other, and data object may have different attributes. Okay, so sources of the semi-structured data, already I am talking XML, HTML, JSON, whatever the markup languages are there. So these are the sources of semi-structured data. Okay, so see at here. So JSON means JavaScript object notation. So it is used to transmit a data between server and web application. Yeah, so you know that. So when you're creating the three-tier architecture, right? Your user interface is there. In between, they're having a business logic. In that business logic, you can write that programming languages are there. And at the third layer is a database layer, database logic, right? Database layer, presentation layer, business layer, and your database layer. So in the business layer, you can write your business logic about how you can interact with the server, right? So in that, we are going to passing a request, right? And JSON is a popular by the web service development, right? And basically these are used in the representational state transfer protocol. So already I am talking about that. So XML is used in the SOAP, but in the JSON, this is also one of the markup language, language is used for deal with the web services. So basically these are using which type of protocol? REST protocol. Okay, so again MongoDB. So this is also one of the open source distributed database, open source distributed NoSQL document oriented database. So these are the used for, this type of the database are used for storing which type of data? Semi-structured data. So in the next part of this subject, so we are going to see in detail this type of data, MongoDB, NoSQL. Okay, so we are going to see. So store the data in a which format? JSON format. Okay, so what is meant by JSON? JavaScript object notation. Okay, so see at here. So already I am talking about that semi-structured data is what? It is a combination of both structured data and unstructured data. Okay, so this is the data which does not conform to a data model or not in form which can be used easily by a computer program. So how you can retrieve this? By using computer program. So about 80 to 90% of the of an organization, sorry, here we are going to see that sources of the semi-structured data. First we are going to see that HTML. You all are familiar with that, how to write the HTML code, right? So they're having the different tags are there. Okay, so this is a structure. First you can write the HTML tag, then head, title of that page. Okay, then in the body, so whatever the web elements we are going to include it at there, web element, text, then hyperlinks and all that thing, and then you can complete the body and HTML. So schema and the data value, right, these are blended with each other. Then this is the JSON format, right? So here we can see that sample of that JSON, how we can write the JavaScript object notation document. So here they're having one record is here regarding to the book. The book of the ID is 9. Okay, book title is Fundamental of Business Analytics. Then author name, publisher name, and year of publication. So in that format, you can write a record. Okay, so that is called as a JSON format. Okay, in case of HTML, you can write as like this, and in case of JSON, you can write here the what entity, and these are the data. Okay, now moving to the unstructured data. So this data which does not having a predefined structure, already I am talking about that. Okay, so in our organization, 80 to 90% of data is in the unstructured format because they are having lot of information. Some of the data in the form of PowerPoint presentation, some of the data in the form of images, videos, letters. Okay, so emails, chat rooms. Okay, so like this way, so they are having, these are the data are available on the organization. So these are the sources. By using that, we are going to collect the unstructured data. Okay, where we are, which are the sources of unstructured data? Web pages, images, audios, videos, body of email, text messages, chats, social media data, and the Word document. Okay, so these are the sources of unstructured data. Okay, so what are the issues with terminology of unstructured data? Okay, how we can deal with that unstructured data, and at the time of dealing with that unstructured data, what are the issues? Okay, so structure can be implemented despite not being formally defined. So you know that they're having no any predefined structure. In case of structured data, they're having a predefined data model. Okay, but in case of semi-structured, you can't say that it is a predefined data model, but having some structure. But in case of unstructured data, they're having no any predefined data model. Okay, so this is one of the, this is the first issue. Then moving to the second issue, data with some structure may still be labeled and unstructured if the structure doesn't help with the processing task at hand. Okay, so data can be cannot be stored in the proper way. So at the time, how you can deal with that unstructured data? So it is difficult to label that. So which are, this data is suppose this data is in the PowerPoint presentation data. This data consists of only images are there. Some of the data having the combination of images and videos are there. So it is difficult to labeling that data, right? So data may have some structure or may even be highly structured. So in way that it is unanticipated or unannounced. Okay, some of the data is in a structure format. Okay, some of the data is in a structural format. Okay, so at that time it is difficult to deal with that data, right? So because they're having no any predefined data model, so that's why these are the issues in unstructured data. So these are the issues, but how you can deal with that unstructured data? Okay, so today unstructured data, so you know that already I am talking about that in organization. So they're having near about 70 to 80% data is in a unstructured format, right? So how we can deal with that data? So already you in the previous semester, you have to see one subject, that is data mining, right? So by using data mining, NLP, natural processing language, text analytics, noisy text analytics. So by using this way, okay, data mining, natural language processing, text analytics, noisy text analytics. So these are the ways by using we are going to deal with the what? Unstructured data. Okay. So then moving to the issues with the unstructured data. The first, how you can deal with by using data mining. You all are familiar with that because you have studied one subject in your last semester, that is data mining, right? First, we deal with the large data set. Second, we use the methods, how you can deal with the data mining. For they're having a large data set, you can use a method for the insertion of what? Artificial intelligence, machine learning, statistics. Okay. So by using this, we are going to deal with that unstructured data. So it is an analysis step of the knowledge discovery in the database. You can retrieve the what patterns, matching patterns from your existing data. You know that in the data warehouse, you have to see that you have to collect the data from the different sources, and after the cleaning, then house, and in after storing the data into the data warehouse, so we are going to fire a data mining algorithms on that. Okay. Stop the level. Okay. So by using that, we are going to retrieve your what? Matching patterns. And so this is nothing but the knowledge discovery in a database. Okay. Okay. So guys, so they're having some network issue. One minute. Okay. So so they're having some network issue. uh, Tomorrow session we will see the what are the issues with the unstructured data. Okay. In the today's session we will see that what are the digital data are available, how what are the sources of that digital data, and how we are going to deal with that data. So in the tomorrow session we will see that how what are the issues in a unstructured data. Okay. So 1 minute, I will take the attendance. So put your attendance in chat box. Everyone, put your roll number in chat box. Those who are present. Pooja Kade, sorry, Pooja Kate and Akanksha, Prashant. Write it into the comment box. Your roll number and division.